Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. And this is the first of, I think, will be a series where I basically take a classic record or record I really like and we do a deep dive into that record, talk about some of the background and the history, and talk about the music. I've got a special segment with somebody else here on this episode too that you'll see coming up. So we're going to start this series with Peter Gabriel's So. So, from 1986. Classic album, iconic album, um, in my top 20, of personal favorites. I love this record. I have a fond memory of discovering this. You know, I remember it well. I mean, it for whatever reason, this record hit me probably as hard as any record, upon first listen, and really sort of changed my perspective, opened up my mind to music. I was in Colorado, middle school, on a ski trip, family ski trip. I was walking around town, and there was a little record store in town, and even then, I beeline to the record store. So I walked in, and I was just looking for something. I brought my Walkman on the trip, right? So I was looking at cassettes, and I came across this on cassette initially, and you know, I don't remember. I don't remember if I had heard a song or two or just heard about it, but I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. And it looked interesting, man, I remember this. Just putting that tape in that Walkman, putting those headphones on. I think part of it was where I was. The snow, the just kind of all of it. And it just blew me away. I mean, on that trip, I must have listened to that tape over and over and over again. It isn't, for whatever reason, certain albums just hit you, and this one hit me. And Peter Gabriel's still one of my favorite artists, but it started there. It was just incredible. And then, from there, I went back and, uh, you know, listened to, or, discovered the rest of his catalog, and been a fan ever since. So, this album was huge for Peter Gabriel. I mean, he was essentially kind of a well-known cult artist, up to this point. By the way, this is a fantastic documentary on the making of So. This is, I'll probably refer to these quite a bit because I own a lot of them. The classic album series. This is a series of documentaries, and I think you can stream them. I don't know what service, but I have the DVDs of all the ones that I care about. But these are just in-depth, awesome documentaries on the making of all these great albums. They always get the artists to participate. So, Peter Gabriel's on here, Tony Levin, the bass player, kind of all the musicians that made the record always participate in these, with real great in-depth interviews. They talk about the constructing the song. What's great on here is Tony Levin pulls out his bass and actually shows how he came up with some of these great bass lines. And re-listening to this album recently, Tony Levin is all over that album. God, he's great. His bass playing is like such a key element to Peter Gabriel's music. Anyway, so highly recommend, well, this series for any record you care about if they have an episode, but the Peter Gabriel So episode is fantastic. And that, honestly, that's where I got a lot of this info, kind of the fun facts, some of the fun facts I'm going to, we'll talk about here. But really, this was the record that kind of bridged the gap. I mean, this was the record that took him from sort of cult artist to superstar, and it was this. And I think one of the great things about this album is he didn't sacrifice his artistry. Yeah, it's more commercial. He had some hits on here actually, but it's still Peter Gabriel. It's still kind of experimental. It's still somewhat daring and innovative, arty, but it's got that perfect balance of being arty and pop. and it's just it's a huge record. Those innovative videos on MTV, for Sledgehammer and Big Time, those helped. Those were and those are covered in a lot of detail in this documentary, which is real interesting. So anyway, um, you know, one thing that's interesting. This is the first record of his that actually has a title, other than just Peter Gabriel. He resisted that, and notice he doesn't even have the title here, but it's put on the backside. And if you look at his first four studio records, his first four solo studio records after he left Genesis, um, they're all titled Peter Gabriel. Here's the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. And they're all kind of differentiated, by the sort of unique album art. And Peter Gabriel fans generally refer to them by what's on. They call this one Car. We call this one Scratch. We call this one Melt. And this one was given a name in the United States. In England, it still remained Peter Gabriel, but in the U.S., they titled it Security for whatever reason. But the record company finally told him, enough is enough. We need titles on these things. And so he relented and came up with, only 2 letters. The shortest thing he could come up with almost. So it's kind of interesting. In the DVD, he talks about it, and he's like, it doesn't mean anything. He said the reason I named it So is I just think it sort of looks cool. The shape of the letters and all that, but it's meaningless, really. So that's how the title came about. One of the best produced records I think I've ever heard still. Daniel Lanois was of course, one of the great producers. He was brought on board. And Peter Gabriel, any Peter Gabriel fan knows he is notoriously slow. He doesn't work fast. And it's kind of funny in that video, Dan Lanois is interviewed quite a bit. And he's like, yeah, I showed up. I thought we were going to be here a few weeks. He's like, it ended up being like a year. And a year is the fastest Gabriel's ever worked, So, he always takes his time. He was saying, In Your Eyes, I think, In Your Eyes, they had 96 versions of that song worked out. It's how meticulous he always worked. Let's just kind of go through a couple of these songs here. Well, actually, first, a lot of you guys are familiar with this record. I of course, am familiar with it. But let's talk to somebody who might not be so familiar with it. All right. So this is kind of a new segment. I want to do these deep dives into albums as we go, and I thought this would be a good segment in these type of videos. So some of you guys out there might have seen, they're fairly popular, right? Those videos, those reaction videos where you take a classic album that everyone knows and loves, and you have someone who supposedly hadn't been exposed to it or seen it at all, and so they listen to it for the first time, without any preconceptions or anything like that, and react to it. So this is my lovely daughter here, of middle school age, and about the same age that I was when I discovered Peter Gabriel's 1986 classic, So. And as I mentioned in the video already, it had this profound effect on my life. Kind of altered my views of music and all that. So I thought it'd be interesting. She's never heard this record. If I sat her down and just start to finish, gave a listen, and we hear from her on her thoughts. I didn't prep her at all. I didn't give her any background or history or tell her how awesome it was. We just a cold listens, like sit down and listen to this. And she even took some notes here. So let's get into it. I guess we'll start with this. Overall, did you love it? Did you hate it? What'd you think?
It was okay.
It was okay. Just okay?
Yeah.
Just like so? Eh? You see what I did there? So just okay. That might be the worst reaction of all. I mean, it's like the least passionate. It's all right. All right, well, whatever. Let's get into some more details, and maybe we can pull out some of these latent emotions that maybe you didn't realize you had with these amazing songs. Um, let's go through some tunes. So like I said, she took some notes. Now she didn't know the song titles, so she just kind of wrote first song, second song, third song, fourth song. Um, so I did notice you did have some sort of reaction to the fifth song. The fifth song, which on the original vinyl order would be the opening track on the second side, which is In Your Eyes. Now I didn't tell you this at the time, but I can tell you now. This is an iconic song. This is one of his most famous songs. It is people especially from our generation growing up in the 80s love this song. It's tied to this movie everyone loves called Say Anything, and it's just considered one of the great love songs of all time. I mean, did explain your emotions, as you like, what did you think when you're listening to that song?
I thought it sounded like a drum circle.
The drum circle. Okay. Peter does use a lot of percussion. There is a lot of percussion. Okay. But that was like your strongest emotion or impression is a drum circle?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Actually, the track after that you had some reaction to as well, which is Mercy Street, which I guess for your notes would be the sixth song, right? What did you think on that one?
I thought it sounded like someone got tangled in wind chimes.
Someone got tangled in wind chimes. I guess there's that. I don't know what he's using, but some sort of percussive instrument. Yeah, okay, wind chimes. Did the lyrics touch you? Did the music really take you away, or?
No, wind chimes.
Okay. All right, actually, the track after that. I mean, you had kind of a reaction to that one. That's Big Time, and so the second to last track. So that would be number 7 for you. Um, how it opens with the "Hi there," and I remember when that happened. You were kind of startled because you thought someone had walked in the room or something, right?
Well, yeah, because I was finishing up my notes in the last one, and I almost said hi back.
Cool. But what about the song? I mean, that song grooves. That song, you want to get up and dance, right?
Not really.
This has been great. All right. Oh, well, actually, let's go back to the third song. Don't Give Up. That beautiful, emotional um, duet between Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush. Who you actually know who Kate Bush is because Running Up the Hill, that song has had a surprise resurgence because of Stranger Things. And I think at some point we were driving around and I made you listen to some Kate Bush. Um, what about that? I mean, were you kind of pulled into their story and what was happening there?
I guess that I just don't care about whatever they're going through.
You don't care what they were going through?
No.
I mean, he's he's pouring his heart out. He's lost his job. He's kind of lost his whole identity, and she's there trying to lift him up, and none of that hits you.
It's called a therapist.
All right, this has been great. So, as you can see, like with me, I think this record had a profound effect on her. So that was fun. Let's do this again. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, that was enlightening, wasn't it? Yeah. Let's go through some of these songs. We heard her talk about it a little bit, but let me talk about it a little bit. The opener, Red Rain. I mean, again, I still remember vividly when I first listened to that record from the opener. That song just hit me. I just love his voice is so unique on that. And one of my very favorite drummers is my favorite drummer actually, Stuart Copeland of the Police. He plays just the cymbals on that song, or the hi-hat actually. Sorry, he just plays the hi-hat. That's it. He don't play drums. So Gabriel like just got Copeland in there to do his height that and which is great because that's like Copeland's specialty, or the hi hat, the cymbals, and all that, those kind of percussion, and you listen to it, it's like, yeah, that's Stuart Copeland, and it's awesome how he opens that thing. But yeah, powerful song, powerful song. Don't Give Up is interesting. Yeah, I've kind of recently come to appreciate that more. That's of course his beautiful duet with Kate Bush, and I think really touching lyrics. He Gabriel didn't do this too often, but he really does kind of dial into sort of working class troubles, losing a job, kind of losing your self worth because of that, and then Kate Bush's wonderful, uplifting, support. Fun fact that I actually learned in the video, in the documentary. Peter Gabriel initially, who he wanted to be his duet partner on that song was Dolly Parton. I probably would have been good. I think she would have been great. According to the documentary, it went so far as he tried to contact Dolly Parton to see if she would be interested in singing on this song with him. She turned him down. She'd never heard of Peter Gabriel, so she's like, no. So that's kind of an interesting what if. But it is wonderful with Kate Bush. It's kind of hard to imagine it without Kate Bush now. But Sledgehammer. I mean, the huge hit, right? The huge pop hit. Almost didn't make. That was the last thing they recorded and added to the record. It was almost as an afterthought. It was interesting in the documentary again. Tony Levin is talking about how it was like the last day, and they were like packing up their stuff, and Gabriel comes in and says, "Wait! I got this thing." So they unpacked and laid down Sledgehammer, basically. That becomes his huge hit. You know, Big Time, which I've always loved. I actually prefer That's the other kind of real sort of upbeat, poppy dance number, right? I think the lyrics are hilarious. I've always actually preferred Big Time over Sledgehammer, even though Sledgehammer was the bigger hit. But Big Time is just so funky. What's really cool is the bass. Again, Tony Levin, the bass that Tony Levin plays, or the kind of the sound of his bass. He basically created, what he calls funk fingers. And supposedly, and again in the video, he talks about it. And this is something that Levin has kind of innovated, and he's pretty well known for the funk fingers. It's almost like drumsticks. I don't know, maybe editor can put a picture of Levin using the funk fingers, but it's almost like he kind of tapes these drumsticks and just hits the strings with these like sticks, and it has this real percussive sound to the bass. And it was on that song supposedly that the first time he ever did that. And he said that it was Gabriel's idea, actually. Levin was kind of working, trying to get kind of a cool bass sound for it, and he's kind of struggling. And I think it was Peter Gabriel who came up and was like, why don't you try hitting the strings with these sticks? And then Levin kind of took it from there and made these, what he calls funk fingers. Yeah, every song on here is fantastic. Yeah, Mercy Street. I love Mercy Street. That was a song he wrote, inspired by the poet Anne Sexton, and so it sort of tries to reflect her poetry and her life. Great mood, beautiful mood on that. I mean, that voice again, which you don't hear that much. I even really like, and a lot of people don't usually talk about it, but I really like We Do What We're Told, which is that great moody close. At least on the vinyl, it's the closer. Well, let's talk about that, because I keep kind of making that caveat. So, the original running order, right, has In Your Eyes opening up side 2. And that's the way I, learned this record. I mean, years after years. When Gabriel kind of reissued it on CD and, did some of the reissues, I found it interesting that all of a sudden In Your Eyes was the closer. It was the last song on the record. Now, supposedly, Gabriel had always wanted it to be in that slot. but it had been moved to the beginning of side 2 in the initial pressings on the vinyl and everything because of sonic concerns. You know, he needed a certain kind of deep sound on that record, and sort of, you know, apparently, you know, where the track is and the grooves and all that. So it sounded best, you know, at the beginning of a side, and so that's why it was put there. But Gabriel always sort of wanted it to be sequenced as the final song. So I've listened to both kind of sequences. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to this, but I mean, to me, In Your Eyes like always opens up side 2. You know, I mean, always, and always will. Like I told you earlier, supposedly he had about 96 versions, he said, of this song. You know, it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, In Your Eyes is sort of, you know, this iconic song of the '80s with the, you know, Say Anything scene. Um, that song has, you know, if you see Peter Gabriel in concert, it's generally always, you know, the encore or the closer, you know, kind of the finale. And he's really kind of expanded it. You know, it's like a 10-minute whatever in concert, and it's really kind of this joyous thing where he gets, you know, a lot of times his opening act will come out and do it with him, and whoever that opening act is, and it's kind of this joyful thing, which is cool. You know, I have several live versions of that song, but to me, none of them really hold a candle to the original recorded version. Just that's melancholy, you know, verses, but then sort of more joyful chorus, and it goes back. It's just, I don't know. There's something just so magical about that original recording. Speaking of live, if you when this was reissued for whatever anniversary, you know, several years ago, whenever that was, it was put out in a special, you know, deluxe set, which I bought. I have. I just didn't pull it out, but I have it on CD. And there was a bonus disc or discs of a great concert, a great show from this tour, you know, in that box. And then soon after, it was issued on its own, so I did buy it on vinyl. So this is sort of a nice companion piece to So. This is Peter Gabriel live in Athens, 1987. So it was on that So tour. There's a great photo on the back side there. This is fantastic. This is a great live show, you know, from that era, and like I said, it's a great companion piece to the album, I think. I don't know, kind of wrapping up here. You know, there's even some good outtakes. So I was kind of disappointed in that box set. They like didn't include some of the B-sides and outtakes. But I do remember there was a special edition that was put out on, you know, iTunes at the time. And I downloaded that. So I do have it just downloaded, and I burned it on some CDs. But there's some really good B-sides too, kind of more moody. A lot of it's sort of instrumental. One of them that I think could have made the album, could have been on the record and been a great track, is "Don't Break This Rhythm." It was a B-side. Um, you should hunt that song down. It's really great. I love that song. I've listened to that song a lot. Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into Peter Gabriel's So. It is one of my favorite records. And we'll see you next time. And please do remember, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.